very little communication. I think very few people in the organization knew where he was.
Say that there's a lot riding on D-Day, Operation Overlord, is a massive understatement. Operation Overlord is the culmination of years.
The most incredible military missions. Some military missions sound impossible. Rescuing hostages thousands of miles away, killing the world's most wanted man, or taking down a dictator from the inside. But these missions actually happened, and they'll leave you speechless. Let's start with one of the biggest and most daring missions in history, Operation Overlord. This mission was all about taking back France from the German army during World War II. But here's the crazy part. It wasn't just a few soldiers. By May 1944, there were almost 3 million Allied troops waiting in England, ready to cross the sea. That's like an entire country's army waiting to move at once. Before the attack, everyone was nervous. The weather was bad, generals argued about timing, and no one knew if it would work. General Dwight D. Eisenhower had to make the hardest choice of his life, to go or not to go. He decided, we go. And so, on June 6, 1944, something incredible happened. Nearly 160,000 soldiers, 5,000 ships, and 13,000 airplanes stormed the beaches of Normandy, France. The sky was full of planes, and the sea was covered in boats. It was the largest sea invasion ever made. The soldiers fought on 5 beaches: Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword. The fighting was tough. Over 9,000 soldiers were killed or hurt that day. But by sunset, the Allies had won a small piece of land, a beachhead. From there, they began pushing back the Nazis until Europe was free again. Some people thought D-Day meant Day of Doom, but actually, the D just stands for day. Simple, right? Now imagine thunder rolling across the sky, not from a storm, but from thousands of bombs. That's Operation Rolling Thunder. This was America's huge air attack on North Vietnam during the Vietnam War, starting in 1965. The idea was to stop the North Vietnamese from sending weapons and troops into South Vietnam. The U.S. believed that if they bombed hard enough, the enemy would give up. Planes dropped bombs for over 3 years, from 1965 to 1968. They hit bridges, railways, factories, and supply routes. It was meant to scare the North and make them stop fighting. But here's the what the F twist. It didn't work as planned. The North Vietnamese were tougher than anyone expected. They hid in underground tunnels, rebuilt bridges at night, and kept fighting. The U.S. dropped more than 4.6 million tons of bombs. That's more than all bombs dropped in World War II. But still, North Vietnam didn't surrender. Even worse, the enemy shot down hundreds of American planes using missiles and anti-air guns. Many pilots were captured and became prisoners of war. Even today, unexploded bombs from this mission still lie buried in Vietnam, and they've injured or killed tens of thousands of people since the war ended. After years of bombing, President Johnson finally stopped the mission in 1968. It showed that even the strongest air power couldn't always win a war. Now let's go from explosions to food drops. Operation Vittles was one of the kindest military missions ever done. After World War II, Germany was divided. The city of Berlin was split into East and West. In 1948, the Soviet Union blocked all roads, trains, and rivers going to West Berlin. The people there were trapped. No food, no coal, no supplies. It looked like they would starve. So the United States and Britain came up with a brilliant idea. They would fly everything in. For almost a year, planes landed in Berlin every few minutes, bringing food, medicine, and fuel. It was like a non-stop sky bridge of help. In total, they carried 2.3 million tons of supplies. And here's the sweetest part. One pilot named Gail Halvorson started dropping little candy parachutes for the kids below. They called him the Candy Bomber. Soon, other pilots joined him. The children of Berlin waited excitedly every day to see candy fall from the sky. The airlift lasted almost a year, with one plane landing in Berlin every 45 seconds. That's faster than planes take off at most airports today. The Soviets finally gave up and lifted the blockade. Operation Vittles wasn't about fighting, it was about hope, kindness, and showing that sometimes planes can drop love instead of bombs. By 1945, World War II was almost over. Japan was losing badly, but still refused to surrender. Then, in August, two shocking things happened within days. America dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the Soviet Union launched Operation August Storm. This mission was huge. Over 1.5 million Soviet soldiers, with 5,000 tanks and 3,700 planes, attacked Japanese forces in Manchuria, China. The Japanese were totally surprised. Their army there, called the Kwantung Army, was one of their strongest, but now it was weak and full of young, untrained soldiers. The Soviets stormed across the land so fast that Japanese commanders didn't even have time to react. In just 3 weeks, the Red Army defeated over 800,000 Japanese troops. The Soviets managed to cross mountains that the Japanese thought were impossible to pass. It was like tanks driving up and over the Himalayas. After this crushing defeat, Japan finally realized it couldn't win. On August 15, 1945, the Emperor surrendered, ending World War II. Next up, a mission so daring it sounds like a movie, but it's 100% real. Picture this: July 1976. An Air France plane is flying from Tel Aviv to Paris when suddenly 4 terrorists hijack it mid-air. They force the pilots to land in Entebbe Airport, Uganda. Now here's where it gets worse. Uganda's dictator, Idi Amin, was helping the hijackers. The hostages, over 240 people, were trapped inside a dark terminal surrounded by soldiers. And almost half of them were Jewish passengers, making them special targets. So, here's the big question. How do you rescue over 100 people stuck 2,500 miles away in a foreign country full of enemies? Enter Israel's elite commandos. In total silence, 4 Hercules C-130 aircraft took off from Israel, flying low across the Red Sea for 7 straight hours to avoid radar. That's longer than some international flights, but with no lights, no radio, and total secrecy. When the planes landed just after midnight, soldiers rolled out in a black Mercedes and Land Rovers, pretending to be Idi Amin's convoy. That trick gave them precious seconds before the first gunfire started. In less than 90 minutes, they stormed the terminal, killed all the terrorists, and rescued 102 hostages. Only 3 hostages and 1 Israeli commando died, but that one was Lieutenant Colonel Yonatan Netanyahu, brother of Israel's future Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. His sacrifice turned him into a national hero. The Israelis even brought a replica of the Entebbe terminal to train on before the raid. They rehearsed the rescue hundreds of times in secret. Fast forward to 2011. The U.S. had spent nearly 10 years hunting the man behind the 9/11 attacks, Osama bin Laden. He was a ghost, hiding somewhere in Pakistan. But the CIA found a strange compound in a quiet town called Abbottabad. No phone lines, no internet. But someone inside never left. Could it be him? President Obama gave the green light for one of the most secret raids ever, Operation Neptune Spear. At 10:30 p.m. on May 1st, 2 stealth Black Hawk helicopters lifted off from Afghanistan, carrying 23 Navy SEALs, a translator, and a dog named Cairo. Yes, even the dog was part of the mission. They flew through the dark sky just 150 feet above ground to stay invisible to radar. Then, disaster. One helicopter crashed inside the compound. But the SEALs didn't panic. They jumped out and continued the mission like pros. They fought through guards, cleared rooms, and climbed to the third floor, where bin Laden was hiding with one of his wives. It was over in seconds. The world's most wanted man was dead. The SEALs spent only 45 minutes on the ground, but took out bin Laden, gathered computers, hard drives, and secret documents that later led to hundreds of arrests. After confirming his DNA, they buried him at sea from the aircraft carrier USS Carl Vinson. The goal? To make sure his grave never became a shrine. As the SEALs flew home, Americans celebrated across the country. A 10-year manhunt had ended in one night. Let's rewind to 1944 inside Nazi Germany. The Allies were pushing from the west, and Hitler's madness was destroying everything. But what most people don't know is that some of Hitler's own officers decided to stop him from inside his army. The man leading it was Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg, a brilliant officer, badly wounded in war but fiercely loyal to Germany, not Hitler. He joined a secret group of generals planning to kill Hitler and take over the government. The plan? Operation Valkyrie. It used a real emergency system meant for rebellion, but twisted it to overthrow the Nazis. On July 20th, 1944, Stauffenberg carried a bomb hidden in his briefcase into a meeting at Hitler's headquarters, the Wolf's Lair. He set the timer, placed it near Hitler, and left the room. Moments later, the room exploded, smoke and fire everywhere. Everyone thought Hitler was dead. Stauffenberg rushed to Berlin to start the coup. But here's the twist. Hitler survived. The heavy oak table had blocked the blast. Within hours, the radio announced that Hitler was alive. The coup fell apart. Stauffenberg and his men were arrested that same night and executed in the courtyard of the Bendler block. Hitler watched films of their executions for fun, but Stauffenberg's last words were, "Long live sacred Germany." Even though Valkyrie failed, it showed something powerful, that even inside Hitler's army, people were brave enough to stand up to evil. The mission no one saw coming. Afghanistan, mountains, June 2005. 4 Navy SEALs were sent to track a Taliban leader. A simple recon mission. Until everything went wrong. They were spotted by goat herders. The SEALs let them go, not knowing they'd alert the enemy. Suddenly, 200 Taliban fighters surrounded them on the cliffs. A desperate firefight. 3 SEALs died in battle. 1 survivor, Marcus Luttrell. Broken bones, badly wounded, crawling through rocks, but he refused to die. When rescue helicopters arrived, a rocket hit one, killing 16 soldiers instantly. The deadliest day for U.S. Special Ops since World War II. Luttrell survived only because Afghan villagers protected him at the risk of their own lives. His story later became the movie Lone Survivor. This mission showed the world that even the strongest soldiers sometimes face impossible odds and still fight. These were some of the most incredible military missions ever pulled off. Which one shocked you the most? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more unbelievable real-life stories.